Power Vacuum is, in its essence, a trick-taking game with a bunch of fun twists on it, and just by watching this review, you might be able to win yourself a copy. More details on that at the end of the video. But first, you gotta listen to what it is to see if you're excited about it, and to get excited about it, and get stoked, because this is a really fun trick-taking game. This was a game that I saw on crowdfunding. It was my pick of the week on the week at which it was crowdfunding, and that's why I wanted to review it. And I can thankfully say that it delivers in exactly the way that I was expecting it to deliver. You are juggling not only winning tricks, but losing tricks to set yourself up for later rounds, and also dealing with predicting who's going to win and lose the next trick to manipulate the flow of power. All of that will make sense as we talk about the game, so let's set it up and show you the components. One of the, ooh, let's put it right there. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Ooh, look at that. Make that center. This determines the flow of power, this connector where power can move from one side to the other. These are your agenda cards where you will have a secret agenda to determine which players will have the highest power at the end of the round or the lowest power at the end of the round. You'll be able to flip those and keep them secret until you reveal. These are all the cards in which you will play tricks on, but the twist to these is that you can see the color of the suit on the back, adding another interesting twist. This is the board to indicate when you reveal your chosen alliance and commit to that having the most power or the least power. And then these are what you're craving. The power that's going to be flowing from one side to the other or potentially back into the center pool. For it is you who must claim the title of Supreme Socket and build an impressive, incredible monument to yourself to win the game. So there are a few things going on in Power Vacuum. If you've played trick-taking games before, and I'm going to assume that you have, this gives you a trick-taking game with a lot of other things to consider. Number one being the choice of winning or losing a trick. The cards are all dealt out. There's everybody's cards. Look, we're a three-player game. Some cards will be left off to the side in a three-player game. And you will play your cards like any standard trick-taking game where the highest card wins. Now, there is a trump suit, so if anybody plays a red card on a suit because they can't follow suit, you must follow in this game. But if you can't, you can play red to win that trick and beat all the other numbers. Now, it should be fairly easy to determine who still has cards of a certain suit in their hand because, well, the colors are on the back. However, there are a couple, however, there are a couple cards that are acting as spies, and these brown cards trump the trump suit and are superpowered and can make you win a trick, even if trump is played, because brown beats red, red beats everything else. This is item number one in the game of cool things, is that there's always a little bit of mystery. There are some spies that are hidden around, and you can use those spies to sway things to your advantage. And so you have a lot of information, but it's not perfect information, which I think is really interesting. So boom, we played that card, we won a trick. What's the benefit? Well, easy. You get a point. You take a point, put in your personal supply, that's it. Or instead of taking a point, you can choose one of these cards that was played and keep it for the next round. So you wanted to make sure that you had that white spy. I mean, everybody will know you have the white spy, but still, you wanted to have it as that sort of trump power play. You can take that back and use it in the next round. Or you can take somebody else's card, which you also might want to do, because here's where the crux of the game gets very interesting. While that's standard trick-taking, the winner wins something, but the person who plays the lowest numbered card, in this case the 3, because it's 3, 4, 4, gets to manipulate the flow of power. And essentially what they will do is they will take one slice of power and send it along this cord and bring it to the other person's power bank, and then they will be able to swap one side of the outlet to set up the same decision for the next player who plays the lowest number. You always do it in that order. So if I play the lowest card, I would move, white to brown, and then I'd move this over here, hoping that the next person might move green to brown. Or maybe not. Why might I manipulate this power? Well, because everybody does have these personal agenda cards which they are keeping secret, and they want a certain character to have the most power at the end and a certain character to have the least power. In this case, I want brown to have the most power at the end, and I want white to have the least power. And you might say, Chris, but aren't you the white character? Why would you want to take power away from white? And I'll say, don't think about that too much. It just makes people confused. Should they have gone with different color schemes? Arguably, yes. Now there's also a trick to this secret agenda. If I don't reveal the secret agenda, I must complete both parts of it for it to be worth points. My little token stays down here, and I get 14 points or nothing. However, if I reveal it beforehand in the first round of the game, each side of this would be worth 8 points. In the second round, each side would be worth 7 points. In the third round, each card would be worth 6 points. Essentially, the number of cards that you have in your hand, that is how many points each portion of this agenda will be worth. And so you can complete one, you can complete both, but the benefit of revealing is that if you only complete one, you still get some points for it. Whereas if I keep it face down and keep it to the end of the game, and this is the scenario, I would get no points. Because even though brown has the most, congratulations, brown, you've got the most, it is red who has the least. And so I have not completed both of those, so I get no points. This also gives a fun balance of, okay, I don't really want to reveal my card too early, because then everybody around the table will just suck everything right out of brown and make sure that I can't get the top portion or the bottom portion. And so you have this nice push and pull of, when do I reveal my agenda? Do I reveal it when somebody else has revealed it? Am I going to commit to it? Because as long as it stays face down, you can be flexible. You can be flexible in terms of how you reveal this. And then at the end of the game, you might say, no, I wanted white to have the most and brown to have the least. And you can pivot, which also gives you some fun flexibility. But I really like that aspect of choosing what's going to have this power and how that's going to impact a decent amount of points. And this also makes the card counting of this game a little bit different. You don't really want to count suits because you can see the suits on the back. You don't need to. Instead, you want to count numbers. You want to know that you have the number 1 and try to manipulate a situation where you can play that number 1 at the opportune moment to choose how the power is manipulated and maneuver the board in that way. You can always put the power connector here, which again just goes into the supply if you don't want to adjust the balances of everybody else, or they can potentially get stuff from the supply as well and boost up their power that way. This is the meat of the game. If this sounds interesting to you, that's what you should focus on. The idea of the card backs being visible is fun, but doesn't play nearly as much of a role as manipulating this power board and, in fact, losing the tricks. Or maybe losing the tricks. If we were in a situation where these cards were played, for example, the person who played this white spy both simultaneously will win the trick and will have played the lowest number as well. So that's why the trump is so important, and manipulating this trump in a way is so important, because you can have your cake and eat it too in this power vacuum world. One final rule, and this is the rule that everybody gets confused about and they don't know why it exists. This is the reason why your colors match up with symbols around the board. Any power that's left at your particular color, you will also get at the end of the round and add to your supply. And so I might have a situation, this situation, I want white to have the most, and so it would benefit me, but I might be in a situation where I'm manipulating yellow and red, and I don't really care about how many power tokens are in white at all. And I'm manipulating this yellow and red situation and hoping that this comes out and makes good, and I don't end up with anything. Or I might have it where I see the tides are turning and brown has a lot of power, and so I might try to force power out of white and get less points in that way. It feels kind of, I don't know, a bit like a pity mechanic, and it only serves to complicate people's understanding, because everybody who I've played this with has had a difficult time wrapping their head around why they're getting this power. And so, okay, I should make sure that I have a lot of power here, but I actually have a different agenda and why that is. It's multiple things to juggle and to consider. And if you like those fiddly things and those multiple considerations in a trick-taking game, then I think you're going to really gel and jive with this game. But I know that that aspect really caused a lot of grief for people and their understanding, in addition to why the cards are the similar colors to around the table. Because they're like, okay, well, if I'm playing white, does that have any benefit because I am white? And the answer is no. They're just the same 5 colors that are used in every capacity, but they're used for different instances. And so that, I find, is tougher for the understanding and was kind of not necessary. Really, there could be 5 different suits. I don't know why they had to be tied into these specific colors, because it only creates, I mean, it makes it aesthetic, so that's nice, but it only creates a little bit of confusion of people who are trying to get on the same level as the game. The game doesn't want you to be on the same level. The game wants you streets behind until you catch up, understand what's going on, and then you're streets ahead. So I will caution this as a more complicated game than it puts itself out to be, especially when the meat of the game and the meat of your points are going to be coming from manipulating this power vacuum, this imbalance of power between all appliances. This scoring structure of the monument is essentially, it's the first person to 40 points, and this is just a fun way of keeping track of your points. Every time you get 10 points, you can trade it in for a piece of monument of your choice. And the deluxe version, this is the sort of retail version, the deluxe version had these chunky bits that you could then stack them up so that they were physically stacked up in front of you. Very fun, completely unnecessary. You could just do it with a score pad, but I love these little gimmicks and just the reason to have fun in the game. All of the monument pieces are different, and so you can mix and match what you want your beautiful monument to be and how you want it to look at the end. I just think that's a very fun aspect to the game, a game that puts itself forward for fun for these little touches. Other production things, this is a magnetic board as well to make sure that the power circle doesn't get bumped, which is great. And so there's been a lot of great care that has been brought into this version and into this game. And before we jump back to the other screen, let me tell you right now that the secret code word for the giveaway is appliance. Now I'm going to tell a different code word at the end because I think that's very funny, but the actual code word is appliance to prove that you've learned how the game is played, because the people behind Power Vacuum are the ones sponsoring this giveaway, and it should only be given to people who actually care about knowing how the game is played. Appliance is the secret word. Drop it in the comments down below. So I really like this game. I like trick-taking games in general. I grew up playing bridge and euchre, and generally I respond well with trick-taking games, but I also like things that are overcomplicated. And I think this is one of those games. It's one of those games where there are a lot of little bits that complicate the game in a way that is very satisfying to me. Like I said, I think it's going to be a little bit overwhelming for people who don't want that complexity, who are just expecting a trick-taking game. But I like all the little bits and seeing the small implications of those bits. Even though the game's to 40 points, you know, if you get your main goal twice, you're already at 32 points. Or if you've shot the moon twice and it's been hidden, you're already at 28 points. You only need a few more points after that to win the game. It all really is focused on the power vacuum itself, which makes sense. And it is all about losing tricks. Winning tricks, I don't know, you can get a total of 8 points if you won every trick, but generally you're going to be playing this with more players, and so that's probably not going to happen just based around card distribution and just based around trump. I find that the power flows back and forth depending upon who leads what trick and who wins what trick, and there's not that much complexity in terms of forcing clever plays in a way. There's a couple, but you're not going to get the highs that you might get in a game of bridge or hearts where you've counted all the cards, you know that everyone else is void in a suit, because you know that they're void in a suit. You can see that they're void in a suit. This is also a game where whenever I'm playing card games, I just will hold my hand like this, because I'm thinking where everybody kind of needs to make sure to hold their hand out so that people can see the colors that everybody has. Which is a minor quibble, but you just say, hey, show your cards, and it's fine. But even though I don't think, like, mechanically the cards have that much complication to them, and the trick-taking flow isn't necessarily overwhelmingly intense or gives you those overwhelming clever feelings, I'm okay with that because I like the little bits along the way. And I really like how this power vacuum, how this circle works. I really like that you do get the points at the end, and you might want to prioritize giving yourself points and just shoveling power over into yourself, and that an opponent might anticipate your play and then choose that and know that you're just going to be greedy for power and get more points off of you. But generally, you don't really care about those aspects, right? You don't really care about the aspects of winning tricks You want to win tricks, you can steal people's low cards, and you don't really care about the aspect of power left in front of you because these, your agendas are going to be worth so many more, right? It all revolves around this thing and manipulating the cards so that you can have the lowest numbers, and sometimes you're just going to get all the lowest numbers, right? And can manipulate the flow, but that is why they have that aspect of if you win the trick, you can take a card for next time, and so you can sort of load up and balance the numbers that are out there, and then time out when you need to shift things and who you're setting up to move the next one. Once you're keeping track of the cards that people have, you know, okay, there's a chance that that person has the white one, or in fact, you know that person has the white one because they picked it up last round. And so if I lead white, they're going to manipulate the power, and they've already revealed their agenda, and I know that they want to give white top power, and that's fine with me because I also have brown being low, you know, so I need them to take away from brown, and so I'm going to move and set them up and then let them win the trick or play the lowest card and do exactly what I wanted to happen. And so I think when that happens, when you interact with the game in that way, it becomes very exciting and very interesting. All the other over complications don't matter, but I personally still think that they're fun to engage with. But if you don't like those little added weird things for no reason, for apparent no reason, right? The feeling of no reason. That's the feedback that I got from a lot of people that I played with. They're like, yeah, no, we liked it, but it just like, it was hard for them to wrap their head around these sorts of things. And so that was the main criticism from people who I played with. So I played this from 3 to 5. I haven't played it at 1, there's a solo mode. I haven't played it at 2. I don't necessarily think I would be interested in playing it at 2, but I don't know, I liked it at 3. At 3, you don't deal out all the cards, so you don't have that perfect information. At 5, I thought I would enjoy it more at 5 because you have that perfect information. You're guaranteed for every card to be in the deck, but I really liked it at 3 because you can take a little bit more risks, right? You think, okay, I have this 2, I hope that person doesn't have the 1. I don't think they do, so I'm going to play the 2 because I really need to manipulate the power right now, and it can come off or it can not. And I think that also makes the idea of keeping cards or trying your luck and see what you get dealt and just taking the extra points, I think that makes it a little bit more interesting. So I actually liked it more at 3 than I did 5. And I think it's because some cards are left out. And so I think the sweet spot for me would be like 3 to 4. I think with 2, there's potentially too many cards left out for it to be as interesting, and it becomes this back and forth situation. You're really going to just go for the all or nothing bluff at the end, because if you reveal it, then your opponent will just drain one of them every time, and you don't know what cards they have. I don't know. I haven't played it at 2, like I said, but I think it would be less interesting, but you never know. I quite enjoyed it at 3. I think 3 to 4 is a nice balance for this game. So yeah, all in all, final rating, I'm going to give this a seal of approval. It's a 4 out of 5 for me. I think it's great. I think you need the right group who really enjoys trick takers, who doesn't mind that deviation from the norm, and for it to deviate. There's sort of 4 deviations from the norm you're thinking of trick-taking games, and I really like that, because you can play a regular trick-taking game. You can just play Wizard. You know, Wizard's a great game. You can play Wizard and bid for your tricks and have a great time, and what this does is it does it differently. It's not trying to be another game where you bid for your tricks and that's it. It gives you a whole bunch of other elements to interact with and to engage with, which makes your trick-taking game feel a little bit more robust and a little bit more fleshed out, which I think is great. Now, complexity comes with that, but if you can get past that complexity, yeah, I think you might enjoy it. It's a tough one. It's a tough one for me too, because I like introducing games to a whole swath of new players, and I know the barriers that I'm going to encounter whenever I introduce this to a new group. But I think if you found the right group and the right people who really gel with trick-taking games, who don't mind that overcomplexity, who wanted something additional to engage with, I think this is absolutely a great, great choice. And one that you can win. If you are in the USA or the EU, but not the UK, sorry UK viewers, or you know someone who's got a shipping address in one of them, you can enter in the comments to win a copy of Power Vacuum, sponsored by the great people at Keen Bean Games. I want to do this for all my reviews from here on out, so make sure that you keep watching them, really, because you can win a bunch of great games. Now, there's a secret code word for this game, secret code word that I will tell you, or maybe I've already told you. No, I'll tell you right now. And that code word is treasonous, because this is the treasonous trick-taking game, Power Vacuum, the treasonous trick-taking game, about you becoming the supreme appliance if you drop the correct code word down below I will do a drawing 2 weeks from now. You have 2 weeks to drop it into the comments. I will do a drawing after those 2 weeks, and I will announce the winner on an episode of Crowdfunding Countdown, whatever that is after the 2 weeks. So in 2.5 weeks, that's when I will announce the winner, and you can win yourself a copy of Power Vacuum, which is a very fun game, highly recommended. And if you don't win a copy, well, still go check it out and get it if you are interested. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Chris George. I don't have a catchphrase, but I do now have these little figures to build a beautiful monument to myself. And boy, oh boy, come on, balance, balance, balance. Oh, dang it. So now I know what I've been doing for the rest of my day.